What's going on, everyone? It's Bales, and welcome back to our first round review of the season. Bit of a team update post round one. So, as it's on the pod last night, it was finally good to have some games in the books and actually have a fantasy team to talk about. Obviously, whose pre-season was a long one. Don't get me wrong, it was good to get some content out, but it was good to finally actually watch some games of football that actually mattered for fantasy. So, obviously, bit of a tiny different setup. Just currently in the room I'm staying in Perth at the moment. But we will be back in the normal setup. Not the trade talk video tomorrow. It'll be the next video that we'll be doing. We're back in Adelaide, back in our usual setup, which will be nice. So, but just going to go through. I wasn't even originally going to do a video on this year, but I thought, no, I'd still do a team update. Some you guys do like hearing about how my team goes and what my team does look like each week. So we'll go through the players here and sort of +3, -3. Go through each player, why I think they went good and why they didn't, and then might even touch on some trades at the end of the video. But if you are enjoying the content around here, make sure you smash a like on the video and also subscribe to the channel. I think we're just over 250 subscribers away from 2,000, so it's gone up really quick. So if you haven't got involved, make sure you subscribe and get around it. And also, go and follow all the socials in the description below. But let's get stuck into it. So scored a 1965 round rank of just inside 40k, which is not great. It's been a long time since I've been this badly ranked. I don't think I've ever been this bad ranked post round one. So I think it's telling a lot about how weird the round is, or maybe it's telling I'm not in for a good year. But I'm pretty happy with the side that I picked and what I expect the side to do moving forward. I think Jaden put out a stat as well that a lot of teams are auto-filled properly or like even better this year. So like Bont, for example, who I picked, was sitting at about that 35 to 38% mark around lockout, and now he's at 60%. And I think a lot of auto-filled teams put Bont in there. So that would be interesting to note. And so there'll be a lot of teams above even your ranking. If your ranking, you're watching this video and your ranking is not good, there'll be a lot of auto teams above you. If you just keep trading, keep sort of grinding away and chipping away, you'll rise above that. And I think that we can see a fair few top 100 coaches this year could be ranked pretty poorly this week. So, but then obviously some of the coaches in the top could also still get top 100 as well. But it is a long season. But so 1965, as I said, not a great rank. +3, -3. +3, I'm going to give it to Isaac Heaney. So not my top scorer, one of obviously the top scorers, but 125, obviously picked him after seeing that midfield role in the pre-season. I didn't think I'd be going back to Heaney, but I did, and he looked fantastic on Friday night. It was great watching with all the legends in WA at the Camfield. Shout out to everyone there that rocked up on the Friday night. And if you're in Perth, make sure you do go and check it out on the Friday nights there. It's always good fun chatting fantasy and stuff while watching a game of footy. But Heaney was great. Against Collingwood. He's got some really good matchups to come. Essendon, Richmond, West Coast. I will talk a bit more in depth about him being a trade target potentially if you don't have him in the trade talk video tomorrow. But I'm just really happy I've got Heaney. Went up, what did he go up? He went up 86k this week, projected to go up another 35k if he gets around a 90 this week. So he's going to be, very expensive in a couple of weeks. He's got great matchups, so could still be an option. He'd get my +3. -3, it's got to go to Brodie Grundy, only the 53. He sucked a lot of us in. Not sucked us in. It was just not a great score. Hopefully he can bounce back this week. I'm still unsure about trading him. Obviously, I'll chat about my trades later on in the video. It sucks that Gorn went big. Obviously, that's great. But then Cherry obviously went big as well, and Grundy didn't. A lot of people would have gone Gorn and Grundy or Grundy and Cherry. Not a lot of people would have had Gorn and Cherry, unless you had like the looping maybe of Grundy on a bench. Because I just think Grundy played too well in opening round to really miss him. So we'll talk about him in a sec as well. But Bevo also gets a -3. Why the hell is he subbing off Riley Sanders in the third quarter? I just don't understand. 68 points, look really good. I just don't understand the substitution. But anyway, let's sort of chat about these players just pretty briefly here. Harry Sheezer, 120. I did say earlier in the preseason I thought he could have a Nick Dacos type year in terms of fantasy scoring, and he started off in the right way, 120. I didn't have him in my team for a little bit there, just unsure role, just want to see it in the preseason. I saw it. He looked great. I think he's going to average 100 plus this year, could push that 105 mark, and does he go 110 and go do like what Dacos did last year, potentially? I think he goes over 100, and I'm very happy getting him in there. Lockie Whitfield, VC. So in terms of a pick, 100 you take. Against North Melbourne, I was hoping for a bit more chipping around from GWS. There wasn't as much of the chipping around the back, especially in the last quarter, that I was hoping for. But 100, I'm not disappointed, but I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied, I guess, because VC, I wanted a one. If you got a 110, it'd probably be different, because I would have banked that and I wouldn't have got a Bont 90 as captain. But Whitfield, West Coast this week, Optus Stadium. I think that game's pretty suited to a guy like him, and he's actually got a pretty good record against West Coast. If I remember looking correctly when I looked, yeah, look at that average of 111.8 at Optus. So yeah, not 96.8 is not bad against West Coast, but good average at Optus. So hopefully puts up a big score this week. Hayden Young 95, solid. Went back into defence. I think that was a bit more to do with Oscar Allen and Brendan Cox getting injured. A bit of a watch this week still, depending on who they bring in. Does Young shuffle back and everything like that? But I'm pretty sure Young's going to be... He's trained as a midfield all pre-season. I think he'll be staying there. So I think they'll bring defenders in. I just don't know who that exactly would be. Christian Salem, 88. I think Ballboys made a good point on... Mitch and Luke made a good point in saying that if it wasn't for those last 5 or so minutes from Salem, he'd probably be talking about him very differently. And that's probably a good point. He would have probably ended on a 60 or 70. Instead, he kicks a late goal, gets +6, gets a couple other touches and gets an 88. So... that does help him. I do like the fact that he had the most CBAs for Melbourne. His time on ground was a bit lower. I noticed that players did get stuck on the bench a lot in that game because the ball was just a lot of chip marking. There wasn't as many stoppages and maybe chances to get players on and off the ground. So I'm hoping that was a bit to do with Salem there. But yeah, 88, not certainly happy with that. I obviously went up a little bit in cash, but just one to watch. Hawthorn this week, good matchup. But yeah, hopefully he can put up a good score and those sort of Warriors are quashed. Elliot Yeo, 70. Tough match against Port Adelaide. Was the second highest West Coast Eagles scorer. I've got no problems with him. Again, if he puts up another couple of low scores in the 70s, then you could think of trading. But at the moment, I'm pretty comfortable leaving him there anyway. Zachy Williams, 74. That's fine enough. That's 25 points over his starting price. Went up a decent amount as well this week. Got the bye, but obviously Blake Cowes will cover him. And he's been really good with 66 and 74 in his 2 games. Obviously, 74 didn't count for us, but price rise it did. Yeah, I'm pretty happy fielding him this week. And Zach Reid obviously was unfortunate. He went down with a hamstring strain. And Essendon said he might, they don't know how long he missed, probably missed a couple of weeks. I'm not really looking at trading him. It's a bit of a waste because even if you go up to a Marty Hoare or something, who's to say Marty Hoare doesn't go and put a couple of 30s on the board and it's a bit of a wasted trade or get dropped. I don't think he'd be dropped because of Bowie getting injured, but I think Reid's best 22. He'll come back and I think he'll be fine. So for me, I'm not looking at trading him. I just think I've got other priorities. Bont and Dawson, I'm going to sort of go together. Bont got 90, Dawson got 89. Obviously not the result I was hoping for. I paid up for them hoping that they would start off with a bang. At least they didn't do a Laird type score with a 57, meaning their price is going to plummet. They both got pretty high break evens. I think Bont's got a 145 and I think Dawson be a 140. Yeah, 140. So it's not really a concern because both of them last year didn't go below. Bont didn't go below 90 and Dawson didn't go below 80. So I don't see them plummeting to 850k, 900k. But they might drop another maybe 40, 50k at most, I think. But again, I don't have to worry about bringing them in, obviously, unless something happens to them, I've got to trade them out. But I don't have to worry about bringing them in. They're there for the year, barring, as I said, any unforeseen circumstances. So I'm confident that they both bounce back this week, especially Dawson, captain of the Crows, first home game of the season. Obviously, they're bit of a poor loss against Gold Coast. They'll be looking to respond against Geelong at home on a Friday night, prime time, obviously first prime time slot for them of the season. Didn't have too many of them last year, so hopefully he will go big, and I expect Bont to bounce back. Gold Coast at Mars Stadium, weird ground, but I expect Bont to respond. Jack Steele, great, 108. The thing that was most impressive for me was the marks. He took 7 marks in the end, had 25 touches, which was great. Last year had a few of those games with low disposals, not many marks, which is good. Only 6 tackles because we know he can hit the 10 mark. But again, if he's hitting 10 tackles with this stat line, he's going at well over 120. So for me, I'm pretty happy with Jack Steele first start. I didn't get to watch much of that game. I'm still going to go back and watch that and just see how we went. But pretty happy with a 108 first up from Jack Steele, priced at around that 98. Nick Martin, 93. One sort of poor quarter in the third quarter meant he didn't get that 100, but 93 is fine. 95s and plus is what I was hoping for Nick Martin. 93 first up's not too bad. So I'm happy enough with his score. Ollie Wines, bit of a concern. 4th in line for the CBAs behind Horn, Francis, Butters and Rosie. Was that because West Coast? But then I said to Tim on the pod a couple of nights ago, I was just like, well, West Coast, I thought he would have played in there more first game back, injured all last year, get in there more, and they can rest the Butters and Rosie Ford because they're playing West Coast, but that wasn't the case, and Wines wasn't there. So he is a guy that I might look at potentially just getting off, to jump off, because that's the thing I have struggled with in the past, is being sort of in the conviction in my trades and going, okay, this hasn't worked, just jump off as soon as I see something, and I've seen something, so that might be where I go this week, jumping off him. Colin McKercher, fantastic. North have got a gun, and he's going to be a gun for fantasy sides this year as a rookie. 94, we'll be able to chuck him in our defensive lines, and who knows, does he have a Sheasel 2.0 type year? I don't think so with Sheasel back there, but we have seen Zeeble and Hall both being able to score quite highly together, so can McKercher and Sheasel be that too? We'll have to see, but McKercher, fantastic, very happy with him. Sanders, I'm still happy with him. He was going to score probably an 80 plus, probably go maybe 90 or even 100, but he got subbed out with a couple minutes to go in the third quarter, and yeah, Bevo, I can't wrap my head around any reason why he would have subbed out Sanders. Like, there's management, no, first game, top draft pick, you don't sub him out. McNeil could have been subbed out. Caulfield wasn't even doing much either. Could have put Daniel back. There was a lot of other guys. I wouldn't have said, probably not sub Caulfield because a lot of people have him and whatever. But you know what I mean. Sanders was a lot better than a lot of these players. Okay, he turned the ball over a couple of times, but whatever. Matt Roberts, 68. Pretty happy with that considering he's on 24 at half time. But that 24 maybe shows he could have a floor score in him. Maybe if the game's not going his way. He's got 3 good games coming up. I think the Bombers, Richmond and West Coast in his next 3 weeks. I think Roberts is fine. I'm still happy with him on field. Jeremy Sharp played really well. He's a guy you could field this week against North Melbourne. Had a good score there. Very happy with him. Jai Clark, 59% time on ground. Only 32. Tiny bit of a concern. Could he be a sub-risk, a sub-out risk, that type of player? So, yeah, for me, I'm a tiny bit worried about Clark, but I still think he's fine to make some money. So, he'll be fine. I think Max Gorn, 137. Gun. I wish that my original captain, vice captain was Gorn captain, with Whitfield vice captain. End up changing it to Bont just because I thought the score from Gorn last week, I just wasn't 100% sure with Gorn. I was 95% sure he'd have a good score, but I wasn't. Whereas Bont, I was a lot more sure, if that makes sense. So, but Gorn, very, very happy with him, and he's definitely a captain option week in, week out, and he's going to be in and amongst those top few rucks, along with Marshall and English. Brody Grundy, poor score, could be on the chopping block for me this week as well, like a lot of other coaches. Obviously, Barnett didn't play. Heaney, we talked about before, fantastic. He's going to keep making cash in. If he keeps playing like this, do we keep him at his bye? Potentially, because if he's going this well, I think he's a top 6 forward. Like, even if he goes forward, he's still going to have some midfield action. He's been too good in the first couple of games to be like 100% a forward. So he's going to be still at least having a 30% mid-roll at worst, I think, even with those other guys come back. But the way he's playing, I wouldn't be shocked if he gets a lot more of a midfield role than what Sydney anticipated. Zach Fisher, 68. Poor score from him. He dropped an easy mark, dropped a few other things, didn't go quite his way. So those things go his way, that's an 80, and we're not really talking about it as much. But 68, not great score, but I'm still fine with Fisher. If he puts up another low score next week, that might be a tiny bit more of a concern, but at the moment I'm still fine with him. James Jordan, 78, that's fine. That we paid, around that 45 mark for him. He's going over 30, around that 30 points above his starting price, so he's fine. Sexton, 67, very impressive in the wet, considering everyone else will probably look at Buderick, obviously only 25. Sexton to get a 6-7 in that sort of essentially torrential rain for the first half, and there was still raining in the second half as well. Pretty impressed with that. And he's got the Dogs this week. He gave up a lot of points to Melbourne last week in terms of those marks and those defenders. Harley Reid, 55. Port, tough matchup. Started pretty well. Didn't get as many points as the game went on. But again, when only 2 players West Coast went over 70 points, that just shows probably not going to score huge. And he's got Giants this week. It's another tough matchup. He could be a guy you could bench potentially. I think I'm still okay fielding. I think he's still safe for a 50, so I'm fine with him. Plus best 18. You don't want to miss a ceiling score if you can't loop. And Darcy Wilson, 63. Pretty happy with that. Kicked a couple of goals to get there as well. But yeah, he's looking pretty good for Saints, so he's fine as well on field for the time being. Lazaro, 52. Wasn't huge. 52 is okay. People are saying maybe, like a few North supporters saying maybe he wasn't up to it and maybe he gets dropped or whatever. That could be the case, and if that's the case, then he would be obviously trade out target and you wouldn't want him, but I think he's fine. He had a great pre-season. They're not going to look at doing anything drastic after one game North. Cadman, 56, was good as well, kicked a couple of goals. He looks a lot more improved as a player, taking a lot of those contested marks, and I think with West Coast this week could put up another decent enough score and make some more cash, and maybe you cash him out next week after that game when he's on bye. But then again, he could also be handy for looping and that sort of thing. So I've already got Sexton there as well. But yeah, you might be able to loop a couple of players there. And Caleb Windsor as well, 58. That would have been a bit higher as well. Maybe that's 70, 75 if he wasn't subbed out. But Goody and Bevo, what are you doing? Subbing the two players I got and a lot of other coaches you've got in their team. So, but Windsor 58. I'm still happy enough I picked him. Good flexibility during these best 18 weeks. I'll be able to put him in the mids and stuff like that potentially. So, yeah, I'm fine with Windsor, and I think he will be good for the run. So, that's the team. That's how we ended up in round one. Early trade thoughts. I've probably got 3 trades, maybe 4 that I'm looking at. I've looked at Reed to Hall. I just think it's a bit of a waste. I know Hall will make some cash, but I'd much rather probably fix up other areas. So that's a low priority for me. Ollie Wines is probably the number 1 priority in my own team. I'm talking my own team. Apologies if you guys have got a couple of these players, but like a Buderick, McKenzie, and I'm thankful in my own position that I don't have to deal with those players. And in the past, I have had to deal with that. So I feel your pain if you're watching it now and you've got to get rid of them. But then again, it might get you a player that I can't get this week. And crisis creates opportunity. You might be able to get a player that does better than who I get. So, but yeah, I'm looking at going Wines down to Bonner. I think Bonner for me is probably the number 1 trade target for the week. We'll talk about him in depth in the trade talk video tomorrow. But he would be, I've pretty much said what he would be. He's probably my number 1 trade target. He's for my own team anyway. So, I'm going probably him down to Wines down to Bonner. Banks me just under 200k. I think it's 195k in total or something like that. Or somewhere around there, 185, 195. Actually, no, yeah, if I work it out now, 195. Yeah, I was correct. Yeah. Anyway, quick maths lesson there for you. That's one trade. The second trade, there's a couple of options. So, Grundy to Cherry banks me, I think, just under 100k, like 90 odd k or something. That would lead me into round 3 where I've got 300k in the bank. And if I roll that over the following week, that can open up the Tom Green, Sam Flanders, guys like that. So that's definitely a play there. The other one I'm looking at is going a Jai Clark potentially. I've thought about Cadman just because I think Clark could earn more money than Cadman in the long term. But I think Cadman will make more money this week, which I think is more of a priority. I can always jump back on Clark if he pops a good score. Clark to Dempsey is a play I'm really looking at. -10 break in for Dempsey. Looked great with a 92. So I'm really looking at jumping on him and for that cash gen, because obviously cash gen is vital at this early part of the season. I think there was one more move that I was potentially looking at. Oh yeah, that's right. So I don't love it, but going a Lazaro, I think I can, if I go Lazaro, yeah, I can do Lazaro if he got dropped. Go Lazaro to Nat Fife, which would bench Darcy Wilson, which is good for cash gen, but also points. So that is another thing I'm thinking about. Well, sort of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You get points and you get cash gen. I think Dempsey's going to go up a lot more though. So I'm partly thinking best 18. Do I go for the guy that's going to rise more in cash, watch another week of Fife and jump on next week if I like what I see again? But yeah, that's my early thoughts. I could go Windsor to Billings. I think I'd rather keep Windsor. But then again, Lazaro's good as well. I'd rather jump on Fife. That's sort of what I'm thinking. But at the moment, I'm leaning to Jai Clark to Dempsey for the cash gen. But yeah, the Fife trade and the Grundy to Cherry trade are also 2 I'm considering. But yeah, Wines to Bonner, I think I'm going to be doing. I think that's the one I'm most confident in. So, but yeah, there you go. Let me know in the comments below how you guys went this week. Let me know your +3s and -3s. What's your score? What's your rank? All that type of stuff. Leave them in the comments below. And also, if you've got any questions, put them in the comments below and I'll get to those when I can. Make sure you leave a like on the video if you enjoyed the content. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as we make our way to 2,000 subscribers. I'll be back tomorrow for the Trade Talk video. As always, I'm going to be doing those again this season, obviously going through the most popular ins and outs and my thoughts on those options. They were quite popular last year, so yeah, I'm keen to get around to doing them again, and hopefully you guys enjoy that. And if you haven't watched any of them yet, then hopefully you look forward to it. So, but yeah, also follow the socials in the description below as well. But yeah, guys, I'll catch you guys in the video tomorrow. So until then, I'll chat to you guys soon. I'm out. Cheers.